Cate Blanchett is the frontrunner for Best Actress at this year's Academy Awards in Todd Field's new film, Tar. Let's find out why. Guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the recent film Tar. This is still playing in some select theaters. Got sort of a little bit of a re-release push after the Oscar nominations came out, but you can also stream it on Peacock. That's how I watched it. It went up there about a week ago, and yeah, it's definitely time to talk about Tar as I'm catching up on some of the big movies of 2022 before the Oscars, and this one has 6 nominations. A lot of biggies. Yeah, Cate Blanchett is, I think in most conversations, the front runner for Best Actress, but this movie is also up for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and yes, Best Picture of the Year, and a few other awards as well, 6 in total. So we'll see how many it gets, but we'll see what I think of the movie as a whole, not just the Blanchett performance, in just a moment. But first, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. Great stuff here on the channel. And as we gear up to the Oscars, I'm putting videos up all the time here, not just about the 2022 movies that I've missed along the way, but specific Oscar movies as well. I just did a review for Bill Nighy in Living, which is a Best Actor nomination for him, and I've got The Fabelmans on deck. I've got Women Talking on deck, so a lot of the big Oscar movies yet to come on the channel, but a lot are up already if you want to check those out. All right, so let's talk about this movie, Tar. So Todd Field is a very interesting guy because he's only directed 3 films, but they've all been huge successes with Oscar nominations. Maybe not, in the general consciousness. Maybe they don't earn a lot of money at the box office per se, but In the Bedroom was nominated for Best Picture and some other things. And Little Children, I don't know if it was nominated for Best Picture, but I know it got some acting nominations and I believe a screenplay as well. So, he's really hitting home runs with all of these movies, at least according to the Academy Awards. And critically, his movies are all well received as well. In fact, Tar was on, what was the statistic I read? I think it was on more critics' #1 movie of the year lists than any other movie of 2022. Not just, the most top 10s. No, the most #1 spots from critics in 2022. So that's a pretty big deal, right? So I think this is another one of these movies where the less you probably know about it going in, maybe the better. But I will warn you up front, it is another long one. It's 2 hours and almost 40 minutes. And a lot of that is a bit of a slow build, which I'll talk about a little bit. But Cate Blanchett plays Lydia Tarr, who is a fictional person. I was unaware really but I'm not a classical person, classical music guy really, and she is a groundbreaking conductor, so I wasn't sure if this person existed or not, but no, not so much. Todd Field, created her, and he wrote this movie too, by the way, but she is in this major German orchestra. She is at the height of her career with a book launch coming. She is an EGOT winner. She's got a much-anticipated live performance coming up of Mahler's Fifth Symphony. But her life is beginning to unravel, and in many ways sort of reflecting maybe some things that are going on in today's society as well. Little Me Too stuff and a lot of current topics, you could say, or at least, current discussion points are present in this movie. So Todd Field made a statement basically saying on kind of the press tour for this movie that not only was this written with sort of Cate Blanchett in mind, no, this movie was written specifically and only for Cate Blanchett. And he said if Blanchett wasn't going to do it, the movie would never have come to light. It would have never come into existence if she had said no thank you and didn't want to do it. But look, I have a love-hate relationship with Cate Blanchett because I do think she's talented. Do I think she is, the be-all and end-all? I don't. However, after watching this movie, I don't know. I'm having doubts about that. I've always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about her because she won a Best Actress award for Blue Jasmine back in, I think, 2014. And though that movie was fine and she was very good in it, I personally believe she stole that award from Amy Adams for American Hustle, which is, I think, one of the great movies of the last decade. And Amy Adams has been nominated so many times before and since that movie, and she has not won an Oscar. Cate Blanchett, I think, has 2 already, so if she wins this year, that'll be a 3rd. I think one of them is in the supporting category, and then one is for Blue Jasmine in the lead category. But anyway, so I've always had, a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about Cate Blanchett, but look, she's undeniable as one of the true talents of the current era. Talking about somebody at kind of the peak of their game. Yes, Meryl Streep obviously is great, but I think her best work is probably behind her. And you could say the same about some other people, but I think she is one of our great working actors today, Cate Blanchett. And this movie is just encompasses every reason why. So let's talk for a second about this intro, because the first, 40 minutes of this movie, it's her being in it. Well, okay. First, I will say this is interesting. The credits are up front in this movie, like they were back in the day. In the 70s or something, it's shifted to, let's put the credits at the end of the movie. And now, if a movie says it's 2 hours long, I automatically think in my mind, okay, well, that means 1 hour and 50 because 10 minutes of that's going to be credits. So it was an interesting move to have the credits up front. I have not seen that in a while. So right away, I was intrigued by this movie. But then it opens with this interview scene, and then she is in the classroom kind of teaching some music theory and stuff like that. And it's stuff that I honestly don't know much about, but I was captivated about this, and it's because of her performance. She is one of these actors, and I could say actress, I guess, but it goes for both men and women in this way. But a lot of actors, it's not that it's unnatural speaking, but she throws in ums and uhs and pauses and reflections on, okay, what am I going to say? Like when she's being interviewed, she has these thought-provoking answers, and it seems to flow so naturally. She will stumble upon her words a little bit. And I know, as a crutch for me, I say a lot. I say a lot. It's just something that I've done ever since I've been doing these videos. And before that, I worked in radio, and I that was sort of a crutch I had on the radio too, and I hated it. But you see this in her performance here. It is such a natural way of speaking. It's how people actually talk. Michael Keaton is another great one with that, and that's something I've noticed in some of his more recent films, that he just sounds like he's so authentically speaking. But okay, so aside from that, so right away I'm captivated, even though, yeah, it's a little bit of a slog at the beginning for some people, I think, to really dive into this world of Lydia Tarr, right? But I didn't find that. I thought it was actually quite captivating, and it's all because of this performance. But as we go on and the things unravel and her life unravels, and we see more and more about certain characters and her character, it just becomes vastly even more interesting and intriguing. And there's a lot of different elements at play here. I mentioned kind of, okay, there's some sort of social stuff that we see in the world today in this movie, but I mean, this covers a lot of different things. There's the whole Me Too kind of thing, and maybe a little bit of cancel culture stuff, but also things like politics, and not necessarily in a Republican Democrat sense, but social politics and environmental politics kind of things with people that you're dealing with on a daily basis, people that you're working with. So, sort of socio-political type stuff. Stuff about her gender in this universe, and she talks about that in the interview in the beginning, that, men are typically your conductors, your maestros, and now, she's sort of breaking these barriers, which I guess should have been my indication that she wasn't real, because right, all the conductors I can ever think of are men, certainly. And they say in the beginning that she was an EGOT winner, and I was like, wait, is she? That's when I was like, is she a real person or no? Because I feel like I know the 17 or 18 people that have won EGOTs, and I've never heard the name Lydia Tarr before. But they had this whole backstory for it. But anyway, I think the last 2 hours, really, the meat and potatoes of this movie. I mean, you cannot look away. I couldn't. It was so fascinating, and her subtleties with the character are so great. I think. And I'm doing a whole video on the who will win, who should win. My buddy Tim should be joining me for that. I think she not only is probably going to win, but I think she absolutely deserves it. I haven't seen all the performances yet that are up in that category, but and I loved Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But even though Blanchett already has 2 Oscars, I think this is going to be her year again. She's so amazing in this movie. I can't say enough great things about her. And, she's playing a lesbian yet again. Carol, she was a lesbian in a few years ago. I think that was maybe 2015 or 16. And to me, as a gay man, I always say, if the performance is worthy, if this person is doing sort of justice to the LGBT community and whatever, why can't a straight person play gay? I always say Stanley Tucci's so great at that. I can't imagine Devil Wears Prada with not Stanley Tucci. And Cate Blanchett, she is happily married to a man, and they've been married for many, many years and have kids together. And she's not on that LGBTQ train, but she plays these characters with such depth, and they're not caricatures at all. And so I think it proves my point once again. You don't, it's called acting. You don't have to be a gay person to play gay. I know that's sort of the trend right now, but she bucks it again. This movie is fantastic. I've not stopped thinking about it. The only reason I'm not giving it an A+ is because even though I greatly enjoyed this 40-minute, intro lead-in kind of thing, I do think it's most certainly going to be polarizing for some. And if you do bore with some of these things, maybe when you watch it on Peacock, you just kind of fast forward. Watch the interview part maybe for a couple minutes, and then you could probably fast forward. Even though I think you won't quite fully get this character and her persona in full. If you don't see that stuff, I can see how maybe it would be a little bit of a slog to get through for some. So I leave Tar with an A. But for sure, this is one of the best movies of the year. It deserves to be up for Best Picture. It deserves to be up for Best Director. And I think Cate Blanchett will take home the trophy for Best Actress. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see everybody next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.